Somewhere in a sealed government file, there's a recording of an Autobot begging for his life. The men who heard it ignored him, and then they got promoted. For 40 years, humans have hunted the Autobots in secret. We froze them, we cut them open, we mounted their heads on walls like trophies, and every single person who did it believed, right to the end, that they were the hero of the story. They were lying to themselves. The worst of them executed the kindest Autobot who ever lived, and the world thanked him for it. Let me show you the monsters. Quick thing first, keep score. As we go, pick the one human you think is the most evil and put their name in the comments by the end. Fair warning, it's a harder choice than you'd expect. And these monsters didn't start in the movies. They started in the cartoon you trusted as a kid. The first one's 1985 Sean Berger. On paper, a businessman. A guy in a suit who lost an election and decided the problem wasn't him. It was the giant robots keeping his city safe. So he did something that should be insane. He teamed up with Megatron, the actual Megatron, the literal leader of the bad guys. And here's what should bother you. It worked. Berger never beat the Autobots in a fight. He couldn't. He beat them with a lie and a courtroom, faked footage, a smear campaign, a public scared of its own protectors, and a human judge who put the Autobots on trial and exiled them off the planet. He handed them a one-way ship, and Megatron aimed it straight at the sun. The heroes who'd saved this planet a dozen times, sentenced to burn alive, by us. With paperwork. That's the blueprint, by the way. Every monster after Berger learned the same lesson. You don't need an army to destroy the Autobots. You just need to make people stop believing in them. Then there's the other one, Lord Chumley, a British aristocrat, monocle, accent, the whole package, who wanted exactly one thing for his trophy wall. Optimus Prime's head. I know how that sounds. A cartoon snob hunting a giant robot for sport, like Optimus is a moose. It's ridiculous. Until you realize Chumley is just the honest version of everyone else on this list. They all wanted the Autobot stuffed and mounted. He's the only one who said it out loud. Be honest, did you even know the cartoon went this dark? If this is the first you're hearing of it, I'd actually like to know below. Back then, it was lone weirdos with a grudge. The people coming next wouldn't need Megatron's help. They'd have a government, a budget, and a basement. Sector 7. There is a frozen alien in the basement of the Hoover Dam. There has been for almost 100 years. The people guarding him called themselves Sector 7, a secret American agency built on one idea. Every Cybertronian is a specimen, not a someone. A thing to be caged, opened up, and studied. They kept Megatron's body in cold storage and quietly stripped it for technology, reverse engineering an entire species like it was a crashed plane. And in 2007, they got their hands on a live one. Bumblebee. You know Bumblebee, the scout, the one who can't even speak, who talks through the radio, who adopts a teenage boy he just met and decides his whole purpose is keeping that kid alive, the gentlest Autobot there is. Sector 7 chained him to a floor and blasted him with freezing agents while he writhed, and a teenager screamed at them to stop. Grown men in lab coats, hosing down something in pain, taking notes. And I want to be clear, because we are only getting started. Freezing Bumblebee is the nicest thing anyone on this list does. We're nowhere near the worst one yet. Here's the part that always gets me, though. Sector 7 eventually switches sides. They become allies. They smile, shake hands, fight alongside the Autobots, as if you can torture someone and then call yourself their friend. They got a redemption arc they never earned, and the movies just let them have it. If you'd been that kid on the floor of the dam watching them do that to B, what would you have done? I know what I'd have wanted to. Sector 7 at least pretended they were studying the Autobots. The next group didn't want to study them. They wanted to take them apart while they were still awake. MECH. His name was Silas, and he ran a group called MECH. Silas wasn't even afraid of the Cybertronians the way Sector 7 was. Fear at least makes sense. Silas looked at living, thinking creatures that could feel pain, and saw inventory, a parts catalog with the lights still on. Optimus Prime, who fought the Decepticons for millions of years, who has seen every kind of evil the galaxy can make, looked at these humans and called them Earth's own Decepticons in human skin. Sit with that for a second. The being who defines what a villain is said, "You people are the same thing we crossed the stars to escape." Watch what MECH actually did. They kidnapped an innocent woman, a mother, purely as bait to lure the Autobot RC into a trap so they could cut the spark, the living heart, out of her chest. Then they came back for Bumblebee. Again, Bumblebee. They ambushed him and surgically removed the organ inside him that lets him transform. Cut it out of a conscious body. He was awake. He could feel it. And they were taking measurements while he did. If you grew up with a Bumblebee toy, that one lands a little differently, doesn't it? He's the one they keep coming back for, and it still isn't over for him. They weren't done. MECH built a fake Optimus Prime, a copy, and used it to frame the real one, turning the entire human military into a kill squad pointed at the hero who'd been protecting them the whole time. It does fall apart for Silas, at least. The man who spent his life cutting Cybertronians open ends up fused into the corpse of one, stitched inside the very thing he hunted. And even the Decepticons look at what's left of him and throw it in the trash. MECH proved a human doesn't need to be possessed or brainwashed to be a monster. He just needs to decide a living thing is made of parts. And as ugly as that is for a kid's TV show, the comics went somewhere worse. They did it to the characters you've loved since you were 6. The comics, remember Spike? The kid from the original cartoon, the human boy who rode around with the Autobots, who was basically their best friend on Earth, the one the whole audience trusted because he trusted them. In the comics, Spike grows up, and the man he becomes runs a military unit whose entire job is hunting Autobots down and locking them in cages. The boy they protected became the thing that hunts them. If that quietly breaks something in you, I get it. It did the same to me. His unit sets a trap. The Autobots come to free a captured friend, and in the rescue, Ironhide, the old soldier, the gruff one who's been fighting since before any of this began, throws himself into a killing blast to shield a younger Autobot. He dies in the very first issue. And then there's an image I can't shake. Optimus Prime, grieving, out of options, drives into the desert alone and surrenders, hands raised, to the humans hunting his people. The most principled being in the galaxy, kneeling in the dirt, because we left him no other way to make the dying stop. And here's the thing. Everything I've shown you so far, the freezing, the surgery, even this, that was the rehearsal. Hold on to that, because the comics get worse. There was a company, secretly run by a Decepticon, that ambushed the Autobot Sunstreaker, took his head clean off, and wired his still-living skull into a machine. Then they used his own memories to make him hunt his own friends. Picture being kept conscious just long enough to betray everyone you love. Go back further, to the 80s. A human team captured 7 Autobots who hadn't fired a single shot, who'd done nothing, and mounted their severed heads on a wall as trophies. 7 heroes, lined up like hunting kills, in a comic made for children. Before someone types it, no, this isn't some non-canon what-if. That's the same Spike, the same Ironhide. The page just showed you what the cartoon never could. Heads on a wall, a friend's mind turned into a weapon. You'd think that's rock bottom. Then the movies handed us a government that did worse and pinned a medal on it. The False Summit. Now take a breath. I can already see the comments forming, so let me clear the table before the last one. You'll want the room. You're going to bring up NEST. Don't. NEST was humans and Autobots fighting side by side. That's the Alliance. The good guys. The way it was supposed to go. You'll bring up GHOST from Earthspark. Also, an ally, though the real monster in that show is a man called Mandroid who tried to saw the arm off Optimus Prime himself. And Rise of the Beasts? No human hunters at all. There, the humans actually helped. So if I missed one, and there's always one, drop it below. The real fans always catch something, and I do read those. Here's why I cleared the table. Everything you've just heard, the businessman, the lab, the surgeon, the heads on the wall, every one of them was someone the story let us call a villain, a terrorist, a fanatic, a freak. The last one was none of that. The last one had a badge, a clearance, and the full trust of the country it served. And it did the single most brutal thing in this whole story with the law on its side. This is the one I told you to wait for. Cemetery Wind. After the Battle of Chicago, the United States quietly shut down its alliance with the Autobots, and a man inside the government built something to replace it. A Black Ops unit called Cemetery Wind. The public story was that they hunted the last few Decepticons. The real order, hidden even from the people in charge, was simpler. Find the Autobots who'd been promised protection, and kill them. Think about what that is. These are the soldiers who bled for this planet, being executed by the country they bled for. There's an old, ugly word for killing the people who kept you safe, and it is not justice. Of every Autobot they could have gone after, the one I keep coming back to is Ratchet, the medic. For millions of years, while everyone else fought, Ratchet's whole job was keeping them alive, patching them up. He saved Autobots. He saved humans too. He never hunted anyone in his life. They cornered him in an abandoned ship and blew his leg off, and Ratchet, wounded on the ground, doesn't fight back. He plays them a recording, Optimus's own voice, proof he's no threat, proof the Autobots were told to hide, not fight, and then he begs. That recording, the one from the very start of this video, the Autobot begging for his life. That's this. That's Ratchet, and the field commander, a man named Savoy, listens to a wounded doctor plead for his life and says no. They tear his heart out. I'll be honest with you. I've read about this scene more times than is healthy, and it still sits wrong in my chest. Savoy had a reason. He lost family in Chicago. But a reason is not permission to execute a surgeon who's begging on the ground. It's just the thing monsters tell themselves so they can sleep at night, and they weren't finished even then. What was left of Ratchet got melted down into raw material and fed into a machine to build a new transformer the humans could actually control. They killed the healer, then turned his body into a tool. Remember the running theme. They froze Bumblebee. In another world, they cut the heart out of Bee. Ratchet, they didn't even keep alive long enough to use twice. If that one got to you, you're not soft. You just remember he was one of the good ones. Put his name in the comments. The medic has earned at least that. And here's the part that should keep you up. Cemetery Wind got caught, exposed, branded a terrorist outfit, and it did not die. It put on a clean uniform, took a new name, the TRF, and this time, the whole world applauded. They hunted down an Autobot named Canopy and blew him out of the sky while he was shielding a group of orphaned children. Same hunt. New badge, a standing ovation. The Decepticons came to conquer us, and at least they were honest about it. The humans came with a flag, a smile, and a clear conscience. That's the difference. And that is why, when you were a kid and you thought the Autobots were the good guys and the people chasing them were the bad guys, you were right. You were right the whole time. So, you kept score. Out of all of them, the businessman, the agency, the surgeon, the soldiers with the medal, which one was the most evil? And which Autobot are you still thinking about right now? Tell me below. I read every comment and I'll be down there with you. And if you want more of these, the stories the franchise buried and hoped you'd forget, subscribe and I'll keep digging them up. The Autobots deserved better than us. The least we can do is remember.